Good morning, followers. Today is a special video because this is an apology video. Yes, it's an apology video because in the previous one I promised you that I would give you for free or something like this my next app, this content. But in the end of the video I said that the things have changed a bit because I shifted a little and the app became something more serious, and so I could not give you the app for free. I made an alliance with to distribute the app through their store. And so things evolved continuously in a very, very fast way because the app became very, very viable and sellable. And now I want to give you a little hint of what happens behind the scenes, in the backstage. I proposed this app to them and they said that this is a very cool app. And so I said to them, I don't know how to price it. What's the price tag for this app? Do you have any suggestion? Because I have in mind something very, very inexpensive. And they said, let's price it very, 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 very high. And so I said, I don't know. Don't you think it's too high? And so they said, once we have a policy of trying to keep the prices as low as possible, but then we shifted and changed our mind because if you keep the price higher, people expect a much better support for the app. And that's what we do. We do a very strong support for the apps. We keep them updated. The price that it's quite high at the beginning became an investment in the long term. And I say, okay, but the price you suggested, it's a bit too high. Let's try to meet in the middle. And they said, let's change the point of view. Why don't you try to add some feature in the app, something that can make it unique, so to justify the higher price. And so I started thinking about, okay, in the preview video that I produced, I started with something like, can't you find the specific file or the folder in which you saved the project or the photos of your honeymoon? And then I concentrate on the photos because I had tons of photos, sparse through tons of external hard drives, and I want to search through them. But you know, photos are very, very difficult to search by because each photo has an insignificant name. img_1234.jpg. It doesn't mean anything. But if you can see the photo, maybe the thing is quite different. And so I started developing a second app inside the app that searches the drives and scans only the photos. Please stay with me because it's interesting. It scans the photos and then produces a very small thumbnail of the photo that is saved. So if the hard drive is disconnected, this thumbnail is saved inside the hard disk owner of the computer, and so it's always reachable. And so it's always showable to the user. I didn't want to stop here because, okay, you can see the photos, but it's quite difficult to search through the photos. But then I realized that I can do something better. First, reading the EXIF data from the photos, from the JPEG, I can get the time of shooting. That is different of the time of creation of the file, because if you post-produce the file through something like Adobe Lightroom or Photoshop, then file creation or modification date is different than the shooting date. But the shooting date is preserved inside the EXIF data. And then I can do something more. I can read the EXIF data and get the coordinates, latitude and longitude of the shot. So I can say, okay, this picture has been taken at this exact coordinates. But using an API from the system in macOS, I can get the address. Yes, I can get the address. A very complex address because you can have the road, the city, the state, and the nation, the country. So I can say, let's search for the photos that I took in New York in September 2016. That's my honeymoon. I went in a trip to the US in 2016 with my wife. And this is a very different thing. But I didn't stop there because I started doing another kind of research. I can resize the picture to a 3x3 pixels image, and then I can change the palette of the resulting pixels, trying to match one of the 9 base colors. The 3 base color for RGB, red, green, and blue, the complementary ones, magenta, cyan, and yellow, and then white, black, and gray. And so I can say, search for the picture with white. And then I can have all the pictures that have the dominant color white, or one of the second dominant color white, or red, or green, or whatever. And then using the technology I developed for FCP video tag, I can catalogate the content of the photo. You know, you are seeing me through this video, and then if you take a picture of this video, you can have a head, a person talking, a car, clothing. So you can search for this kind of topic. There are more than 1,000 categories, and you can search for the categories and try to find the picture you're searching for. And one category is screenshot. So you can search for screenshots. It's good, it's beautiful. This is a very powerful one. And I'm working a lot, because this thing is already working. I'm working a lot on the presentation side, because I must subcategorize the photos and group them by year, or month, year, or maybe day, month, year, and present them in a very pleasant way. And I have to do this using a lot of custom controls, because standard controls in SwiftUI for macOS are garbage. It's not right that the Apple said to use SwiftUI as is vanilla. No, vanilla SwiftUI in macOS, it's garbage. It's something like they put together a lot of stuff without ever thinking about the exact quality of the appearance of the things. So you have to do a lot of customization for the presentation to give the user the perfect interface. But I'm reaching a very satisfying goal, and so I'm quite proud of myself. The photo scanning is different from the file scanning. You know, if you scan the hard drive on an external 1 terabyte hard drive, it takes something like a minute or so to do the catalogation, and that's it. And then it scans for all the photos, and you can search files by kind, media, photo, video, audio, text document, blah, 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 blah. There are a lot of categories that you can search for. And then it scans all the photos, and for all the photos, does all this secondary pass. And this secondary pass can take a bit of time, let's say 1 second for each photo, maybe less, maybe more. So it's something that longer, but it just works. And if you keep the drive connected, using not so much time, you can create this new secondary database, invisible to the user, with all these thumbnails and all this metadata. It works, and it's powerful. Now let's think about the occupation, because if you use an external drive, is to save space on the internal drive. Let's say that for only the file records, not for the photos, an external drive with 1 terabyte space full takes something like 15/20 megabytes of space. So if you have 10 external 1 terabyte drives, you occupy something like 200 megabytes internally, but you can reach all the files, and then you have a very, very, very super strong and powerful tool to reach the document you saved externally. For the photos, each photo occupies something like 5/8 kilobytes. So for an archive of 10,000 photos, in the end you occupy something like 70 megabytes. And if you have 100,000 photos, you occupy something like 700 megabytes. It's not so much nowadays, but I think that I can give the user the possibility to tweak these settings to get the maximum quality or the minimum quality with a certain occupied space. That's it. I will keep you posted on the production of this app, because I'm quite proud of myself, because it's becoming one of my most powerful and useful. I don't know if it's one of the more beautiful one, but I use it and it is useful. Useful, convenient. I think that this app will get out before Postcutter. That's quite interesting, because I spent something like 2 years developing Postcutter, and I've been working on this app for something like 15/20 days. But you don't know, life happens. If someone says that something that you created is very good and useful, shouldn't I invest my time and resources on this thing to make it profitable and become very rich? Okay, that's all for today. You've seen The Morning Rant, the show in which I talk about my life as a TV commercial director and software developer while I telecommute from my home to the office. I'm Alex Racuglia, and as always, I say to you my most warm salutation in Italian. And so it is, ciaone!